right, and becoming richer than us, then the icebergs are going to melt and the snowy owl is going to disappear and all the rest of it. So what I'm saying is, and I'll say it loud and clear, I think all this talk about climate change is bollocks.
Thank you. I've always thought that.
It's bollocks.
Especially...
but it's got cult status. Yeah. So it's like Islam. You can't dispute it.
No.
Nobody can dispute
it.
No, you're considered a fascist. You're considered a Nazi tool if you say that maybe there's less to this climate change thing than meets the eye. And so when we get a wet and filthy August, the worst summer I can remember, and I'm 54, really, that doesn't fit the pattern, does it? Whoa, wait a minute, we can't have that. We better start massaging a few figures. So that is a conspiracy theory that I would like to copyright and get out there.
I like it.
Thank you. I know, Stuart, that you mixed thoughts about it, but I'm saying it's an actual conspiracy. I'm saying that Kyoto, the famous Kyoto thing, which was designed to put a brake on China and India's economic miracle and industrial march, that's just one plank of this conspiracy. Every time you pick up a newspaper and you read that Jeremy Clarkson is coming round to the notion of climate change, David Cameron is on the bandwagon, everybody looking for cars that they can run without petrol and homes that they can run, and David Cameron's now saying that he would ban the standby. Did you see that? He would ban the standby device.
What a shit.
Right, a crock of shit, isn't it?
Here's my one thing I've always said about it. Through the years and the ages, right, there has always been temperature change, right? So if you look at when, like, the asteroid crashed and what have you, and the temperature went down because the dinosaur and all the dinosaurs and everything died, there was the Ice Age. Yeah. I'm sure it probably got hot again after the Ice Age. It's just not written about, or if it is, it's not quite as well publicised as... It's not called the Hot Age, but I bet your bottom dollar it got hot again, and then it cooled down, and there was a second Ice Age. Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Surely that's just a cycle going on, and that's what we're in now, isn't it? Yeah.
They found a Druid settlement in the north tip of the Hebrides where at this moment in time you would freeze to death in July if you didn't have two coats on. They found a Druid settlement there which was kind of based along Roman lines, and they found remains of plants like vines and bougainvillea. Okay, these exotic Mediterranean crops used to grow not that long ago, 1,500 years ago, used to grow in the northernmost tip of Scotland. So, you know, we all know that the climate fluctuates this way and the other. There's no value in that, though, is there, for the White House and NATO and the EU and the West, who wants to maintain its stranglehold on the entire planet? And as we all know, China is just marching along, sailing along like a massive oil tanker, overtaking these shaky little galleons of the West.
The argument... They don't pay any attention to us. They don't give a shit.
Well, that's the thing. Well, so all they're doing is frightening us.
Yep.
Because China and India are doing exactly what China and India... Well, what we'd do if we were China and India, which is to say, well, sorry, chaps, we just got to get on because we've got to catch you up. In fact, we've got to overtake you, and that's what they're going to do.
Well, this is exactly what I said to you last week, or the week before last, when you had the Heathrow guy, matey, on, you know, the protester bloke. And I said to you that... It's all very well protesting about the pollution from Heathrow, but you see the photos of Beijing and the blooming Olympic sports that are going over there in the thick smog. Until somebody does something over there, it's going to make absolutely fuck all difference what we do over here.
But is that pollution creating climate change?
Exactly.
Because if it isn't, the argument, or if it's being extremely over-exaggerated, then we have at Play Radio a bona fide conspiracy theory to run with.
At what point or does it start or finish? Because you mentioned the BBC. Okay, BBC are going to go, oh, hottest August forever, da 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 da. Are they part of the conspiracy, or are they just a mouthpiece?
The latter.
All right, David Cameron, part of the conspiracy or a mouthpiece?
The latter.
Right. Okay.
The latter.
It's just that somebody's mentioned on Skype a minute ago there that you know, so what are we saying, that all the scientists are wrong? I think that if the scientists aren't on the side of the Greens, then they start to get sort of roadblocks put up by their governments when they want to do stuff. And that's what I think that's what it is if you object to the green issues and you say that they're wrong and you say the governments aren't telling you the truth, then all of a sudden the governments go, you know what, you wanted a license to go and experiment with that? No, I don't think so, mate.
Well, I think it's bigger than that. I think what it's doing is actually making legitimised hate targets in society. And if you look back over the last couple of years, we now have, or we went through a phase of having legitimised hate targets in the form of, if you dare say, do you know what, fox hunting, great sport, love it, right? It's all right for someone to come along and chuck acid in your face. It's the same now with smoking. If you go away from this terribly this climate we're in, where smoking in a public place, if you go, do you know what, I think people should be allowed to have a puff, and that's what they want. Whoa, wow, I think that's bloody outrageous. Mark my words, and it's happening already. Sorry, I don't mean to wave a blade.
I'm getting quite worried. You're waving scissors in my face. Yeah,
mark my words that. By merely having a conversation, we're going, do you know what, climate change, I don't think is everything is supposed to be dressed up. That now people will be going, how can you say that? That bloke you had on 2 weeks ago, that guy was in the car park at bloody Heathrow Airport, was borderline there.
Well, it's twice you've mentioned him, and I'm inclined to ring him back, not this week, but we'll have another go at him, because their website...
Have they not changed it?
No, they
jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, look at us, saving the fucking trees.
Picked out all the most...
Drove off in his Porsche.
Carefully selected, possibly. My TVR would annoy him. I think I'll drive up and down his road in my TVR belching out fumes. So I will. But there it is. I suspect that there is some kind of a written or unwritten conspiracy to make us all believe that if we don't stop belching out smoke...
And farting. Because methane gas is a greenhouse gas.
Isn't that right? Apparently cows are the biggest polluter on this planet.
Apparently
than
so,
else.
yeah. But the thing on the TV was the thing on the TV was all about the oceans and their absorption and release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere over millions of years, periods of time. And it said that a natural cycle, and they'd graphed it over millions of years or something on that. I forget what the evidence was, and I might be slightly wrong, so don't take it as read. But it basically said that the ocean soaks up 90% of the Earth's carbon dioxide into the water, and then at some point in time it releases that back into the atmosphere again, and then starts to suck it all back up again. That's the way it works.
There's a contributor here who's just made the point, this is Alan Terry, that this whole theory and this conspiracy about climate change actually enables government to tax people more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chuckler says Tommy's got a TVR, get him.
So does your conspiracy theory go way back to the whole CFC hole in the ozone layer? Do you think there's no hole in the ozone layer? Do you think?
No, I think there is. I believe the hole in the ozone layer.
It's all part of climate change, isn't it?
No. Yeah, no, well, yes, but I think...
But if you believe in the hole in the ozone layer, surely then you must believe that climate change is an actual physical thing, because we've already done it.
But isn't that a separate thing, though? Because the chemicals that cause the ozone to deplete are not the same as greenhouse gases, are they? The carbon, fluorocarbon, whatever it is.
Got a nice email to add to the conversation after this.
playradiouk.com. Just great music.
Play Radio UK is the world's fastest growing internet radio network. And now we want to share our success with you. We will help you get more customers, more profit, and a bigger profile. Just ask Play Radio UK to build you a radio station of your very own for a remarkably small cost. And your shop, store, or website will instantly have its own music, messages, and adverts. Plus, you can make money by advertising for others. For a 140% increase in customer activity, call the Play Radio team today on 01243 556 355 or email us on team@playinstore.co.uk.
Hi, I'm Jamie Robertson, and I'll be here every Saturday breakfast from 8 with lots of 80s music, along with your first, last, and everything. So join me, Jamie Robertson, Saturday mornings at 8.
Play Radio UK. Distinctively distasteful. Tommy and Duncan on Play Radio UK. Not for the faint-hearted.
So on today's programme, we've been talking about our taboo of the day, which is farting. We've been talking about chewing gum, swallowing, all sorts of things, examining our own body waste in order to diagnose how healthy or otherwise we are. We've had some great Skype calls and some good landline phone calls as well. 01243, which is the code, 55 60 60, 01243 55 60 60. And this email... and also, we're rolling out our conspiracy theory And I think I believe it, which is that the governments of the West are making a lot of capital out of climate change because they're trying to put the brakes on Chinese and Indian advance. But this is a good email. Stuart, hi team, have you got that one up there? Great show tonight.
Yeah, great show tonight. Here's something for you all to contemplate, chew the fat on. Who controls time? The timekeeping, that is. How many times do you alter your watches, say the BBC